What's going on, everybody? It's Eric from the Rick Podcast. We are with Shane as well. Shane, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, brother. How's it
Good.
been? It's been a bit since we talked.
Yeah. I know. Right here, before the podcast, I was asking how you have been, and you've been. There's a lot that's happened in your life recently, with some friends on the job, with teaching some boat classes and the rookies, and just a super busy time it seems like you've been having. So I just want to thank you for sure, man, for hitting me up today so we can get this podcast and get some more content out there because it's it's busy out there, so it's difficult for us to get together and do this. So thanks for doing that, man, for sure.
Me too.
Um, yeah, so you did that podcast with Paul a little bit ago, which was I think was pretty good. It was nice to hear a different voice on it just besides us for a little bit. But yeah, man. So today's episode popped into my head the other day, and it was about the saying of "you're not alone." And I'm sure you hear that a lot. The listeners hear it a lot. I know I've heard it a lot um, in the past few years of the mental health stuff, the brain stuff, and just saying just know that you're not alone. And whenever I heard that, I was like, well, I know I'm not alone, but how come I still feel alone? Right? Um, I would have friends around me. I would have family around me, coworkers around me. Um, and if I wouldn't be getting a text message, and this was, I would say, a couple years ago, and these are some of the feelings I would feel. How come no one's just checking up? Hey, how you doing, man? Or hey, you want to come come have dinner with us or come to the house, hang with the family? Because when you lose a lot in your life, your identity, the money you're used to, the style of living that you're used to, living of getting the food you want to get, driving the car you want to drive, living where you want to live. We put a lot of work into this career as a fireman, and I feel like the majority of us get rewarded pretty well for that. So when you lose that, not wanting to, like someone like me, it wasn't my choice to want to get off the job. It was something that I think was the best decision that somebody made for me. So I felt out of control, right? And as firemen, we are in control, right? In life, we want to be in control. And so when you feel like your life is out of control and people are like, okay, well, just know that you're not alone. We're here for you. You can still feel alone in your head, even when everyone's around you, right? Your emotions are going to play so many tricks um, on yourself. And yeah, I just wanted to dig more into that of some of the emotions you might feel, how to navigate through that, and to say that you are not alone. Anyone that's listening to this that is going through something difficult, um, I've made it to the other side, and I want to let you know that you're going to be okay. I can't be there holding your hand. I can't be there checking, on you every single day. I can't be texting you every single day. I can't be calling you every day. We can't be hanging out every day because everybody has lives. And I know when you're going through that, it's very difficult to get out of your head and see the good things in life because what we focus on is what our brain's going to see. And if we're only focusing on nobody's around, or I lost my wife to suicide, or I lost a friend to suicide, or I lost a coworker to a death, or a kid or a family member, or this call. If something's bothering you, or it's money, or you have massive changes in life, it is very easy to pity yourself. Very easy to say, no one knows what this feels like. Only if they knew, all this bullshit stuff that's not true, right? Because uh, you know not everyone needs to know how you feel, right? Not everyone needs to know what it's like to walk in your shoes. That's impossible for us to know how everybody feels through their trials and tribulations. And that's what I'm saying. So when you feel alone, understand that you're not, but the emotions that your body is going to feel and the tricks that your brain and mind are going to play on you is going to make you feel like no one understands. But if they don't understand, I want anyone listening to this to know that that's okay. There's plenty of times you've told me this, Shane, right? You're like, man, I couldn't even imagine what you went through. I don't know those emotions, but you were there for me, right? You would let me come to your house. I would stay there for free. Hey, man, come on up here, dude. Come in the jacuzzi. My house is your house, right? Even through all that, dude, I still felt alone as hell in my own head, right? And even when you have friends around you, you have family, you have all this love around you, if you're not realizing that, and when you go through this massive trauma, you're still going to start focusing on what's not going on versus all the love that's right in front of you. And I think that's a massive problem just in life, right? Of focusing on the wrong things. So we can, dive deeper into that. I've kind of talked a lot here, so just want to kind of get some of your opinions on that. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I think I mean that kind of makes me think of my conversation with Paul in the last episode, where he he's very passionate about sharing his experience now, similar to myself, and another handful of members from my department now have actually gone to the Center of Excellence. And so one of the common themes that comes out of those experiences is it was really good to hear other people talk and know that I wasn't alone, right?
Yeah.
That was the common thread is, yeah, hey, bro, I got you. I'm here for you. We all hear that. I mean, that's what the fire service does. And we know it's true. We know that we have our tribe, sometimes more than others. I literally just got back today from pressure washing my buddy's backyard for his now widow. We just lost a guy this week to cancer, and the tribe's doing what the tribe always does. There's an IAP in place. Everyone's taking a piece of what do we need to do to help the family? What do we need to do to, kind of clear that plate and get everything dialed in. And I mean, this is my one day off in probably 3.5 weeks. And, I was up at 6 and out there and don't need a pat on the back. This is just what we do. And so I'm sure, she knows she's not alone, but I'm sure she feels very alone. And I can't even imagine what her and her family are going through. His young son, same kind of thing there, So I think it's a great topic because the people that I think go through their own journey and work through these things, yourself, myself, Polly, anybody else that we've talked to that wants to get involved in this and kind of sharing these things, finds that commonality and realizes that you are not alone in the feelings. Like, we're human beings, so those feelings are common. And you're religious, I'm not. That doesn't mean that I don't understand your devotion to that. Like, I understand what devotion looks like. I understand what faith means. We have different definitions of that, and it doesn't make you right and me wrong, or vice versa. I think it's more of a human experience personally when I look at the emotions and just everything in general when you package it all up. So I think I really like the idea of it being focused on this topic as to you know you have to fight that feeling off. So you have to
Yeah.
recognize that like you mentioned being at my house. Of course you're not alone, but you're in my house. My wife's here. You're trying to be respectful of our home and not intrude on. I mean, what we all do for each other. We try not to impact one another as much as possible, regardless of if I'm telling you, like, dude, it's fine. Like, it doesn't bother me. You have your own all those things. And that's natural. It's what we do. And so you were having to constantly battle that. I could see it when you were here, and I knew it was like, and that's a weird thing too. As a friend, you try to not put a person in a position where they feel uncomfortable, because you have to recognize that everyone has thresholds in different ways. So just knowing that, start off by understanding, yes, you're not alone, but you're definitely going to struggle with that. You're going to feel it in different ways at different times. It's going to manifest itself multiple ways, and I had a great example of this recently, um, and it was my own self. So a buddy of mine had gone through his stuff in the last year, and he actually went to the Center of Excellence. Good guy I work with, and him and I used to work with him, and I hadn't really talked to him since he started going down this path. And I mean, I'd been texting with people around him and talking with people around him to try to offer support and do whatever we could. But him specifically, I hadn't texted or called him because in my own head, I'm like, well, if he needs me, he'll call me. He'll text me. And also knowing he's surrounded by all these people, then the other part of that is like, well, I don't want to overwhelm him. He's already got all these other people that are constantly barraging him with texts and calls. So I'll just kind of stand on the side. He knows how to get a hold of me. He knows he can call me at 3 a.m. I'll be there. I'm one of those people. He knows that about me. All that to say that, like, when I talked about it with someone and they said, dude, just call him. Like, it's probably not like, it's probably not him not wanting to talk to you or him not wanting to reach out. So I called him that afternoon. He picks up on the second ring. Hey, dude, what's up? Oh, how's it going? And it's funny. I got a phone. I was like, how dumb, how dumb that I didn't reach out in the last few months just to say hi. Just to send that text, just that phone call, and that was and I think I'm pretty good about that stuff usually. But that was a good example of where, like, I should have been better on that instance. So.
And I think too, that hits a good point too, man. Understanding, just like when we're teaching and we're, leadership stuff, instructing, understanding your audience, right? We talk about that a lot. That's your personality, dude, because that's how you would feel, right? Oh, typically we act and do things the way we want to get treated, right? That's how you are, right? I know what you just said. You would do that to me. You know what? Hey, Eric, I need you, dude. You good? Can you talk for a sec? Or like when we texted about the podcast, for this one we're doing right now, you went right into it. Hey, it's been a rough week. This happened, and you talked to me. Like, I can tell you had to get it off. And I was like, hey, you good? And you need anything? That's how you are. And so I think understanding your friends, understanding to a certain degree, right? Your friends, your coworkers, knowing the personality traits, realizing like they may not reach out. That just may not be their personality. That's okay. So we will have to reach out. But also, like what you did, I don't think it's dumb. It's just your personality. It's just how you are. So, you reached out, and more than likely that was probably super dope for him, right? And it's just made his day because now he's like, someone thought about me, right? We all want to be thought of. We all want to be validated, right? Whatever that is in our feelings, our day to day, the job, leadership, fireman, engineer, whatever, right? And when you're going through something difficult, like your friend, or even I don't always want to make it sad, but just checking up on your friends every once in a while. Hey, man, I'm thinking about you today. Want to shoot you a text. Hope everything's well, right? People love getting those text messages, but in particular, when someone's going through something difficult like that, um, I think it's one of those things for sure, man. Of it's just I think the same. Oh, so they'll reach out to me if they need me, right? Just I moved into this new place here in Temecula with another LA County fireman. Well, they own the property and it's a studio. It's a 2.5 acre farm, and I gave him the text. Same kind of thing. Let me know what you need. I'm here. I've got some. I'm just organizing some stuff. Blah blah blah. And hey, thanks, bro. Sounds good. We've been kind of going back and forth the past few days, but I see him working out there, and I'm like, he needs some help. So I ended up, instead of the text message, I'm like, I'm gonna go walk out there. I'm gonna talk to him face to face. Hey, what do you need? Right away, right? We really don't want to bug people. I think specifically firemen as well, because we don't want to bombard on people. We don't want to inconvenience anybody, right? So if they need me, they'll ask, right? Or they'll call me or text me. So like I walked out there, I was like, hey, dude, what do you need? I'm like, you sure? Like you're doing a lot of stuff here right away, right? Now we're talking. The conversation was leading towards some I actually kind of do need some help. I wasn't gonna bug you, but I'm like, dude, it's all good. Like knock on the door. Like I'm here to help, right? And I think the same stuff goes in, to when we're going to like, massive life changes and trauma, right? Like, oh, they'll reach out to me. But I know from my personal experience, I did not want to bombard anybody. Okay, I'm kind of feeling depressed today. I'm gonna call Shane and just unload everything. I feel depressed. I feel suicidal. I feel this. I feel that. Because those are the things that would go through my head, right? We would talk about those things when we'd hang out, and you're like, God damn, dude, like you have to be so negative. I can see it in your face sometimes. Like, dude, you say the same thing over and over and over again. But I don't want to reach out to people. Hey, man, I'm having a hard day today. Can we just talk? I still don't do that. I'm like, I'll figure it out. I'll deal with my stuff because you have stuff you have to take care of. Somebody else has stuff they have to take care of. So when we actually reach out to somebody, that has a massive impact of like letting them know they don't feel alone. When somebody would text me, "Hey, dude, how you doing today? Is everything cool?" That right there would change my day. I'm like, wow, somebody thought about me. Okay, cool. That's all I needed, right? And so, um, yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think yeah, it's funny. I was thinking as you said that about helping the other guy. I tend to not ask for help because like I don't want someone else's help because I'm like you're not going to do it the way I want you to.
Or that, yeah, that's true.
But I mean, on the same thing, it's exactly it too, where it's just like, well, yeah, I don't want to bother that person. I don't want them to have to inconvenience themselves. It's my thing. I was actually thinking that today as I was pressure washing my buddy's backyard, laughing to myself because he was a wise ass like the rest of us, and I could just hear him telling me how I did a shitty job and how he would have preferred if I did it left to right instead of right to left or whatever kind of thing. Just typical fireman stuff. I giggled to myself as I was doing it, but um, yeah, I think you know a lot of the conversation that Paul and I were talking about was where people are at on their different call them a journey, whatever. But just like guys in the firehouse that are in different stages of this stuff, where like some of the younger guys are early on in it and they're not that bad, and they're just starting to have those little flashes once in a while of like anger, or maybe they're binge drinking, let's say, or they're missing work occasionally, or maybe there's something that's traumatically happened in a call that's starting to affect or change a person. So, that was kind of one of his focuses was how do we like get these guys to recognize it and do something sooner instead of waiting until it's time to go to like a full blown program. And I think that that's ties into what you're saying, where it's like you have to be conscientious about building your tribe, and that means investment on both ends. So
Mm-hmm.
the people that you surround yourself with, um, I would say that a lot of that is needing to look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you really investing in the people around you and building people that are truly your tribe, or is it just a superficial thing? Because there's different levels of that stuff. Like I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I have a very tight circle of, probably about a dozen people that are really, really close to me that I feel I could call in an instant. Um, and I think they would feel the same. And then that circle grows out to, people that I could lean into somewhat. But I don't know that I would, do the trust you with my, I trust you with my life, not my money and my wife, all that stuff. This stupid old saying. But then even further out from that is still more people that are acquaintances, but I know would like do like what people are doing right now. For my buddy's situation is just offering what they can because that's the only way they can help. And that was another lesson I learned too. Was that we all offer help in different ways. I learned that about, gosh, man, I can't believe it's been probably like 8 years ago when my buddy got killed in an accident on his farm. He was a fireman here in Fresno, and I ended up doing his eulogy and writing out his funeral, and I remember being at his little place where he had his little farm, and I remember getting pissed off at somebody because I didn't perceive that what they were doing was the right thing in terms of what was going on. But then I realized, like later, it took me a while to understand. I was like, well, that was that person's way of helping. That person wasn't as close to my buddy as I was. Didn't really know the family, and just like was able to contribute in a way that to me at the time didn't seem relevant, but it actually was, and it was so it's weird how that works when you're in the mix where you feel very passionate about how things are supposed to go, and then you start to look around and see others and start doing the value judgments of just like, why aren't you doing this, why aren't you doing more, you should be doing this. And everybody has different capacities and different roles to play, and that's been a interesting lesson for me in the past several years. And I think a lot of that goes back to the same thing, like everyone's different, everyone feels differently, as you said. When somebody texts you like that, it changes your whole day. That's something that's different for everybody, I imagine. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it is, man. And because I'll do that. I'll text people, and like if I wouldn't text. I mean, maybe I would if you're going through something difficult, but I really wouldn't text you if it's been 2, 3, 4, 5 months. I mean, we're do the podcast together back in the day, right? When we weren't doing this stuff. You're not a person I would really just text every few months. Hey man, what's up? Like, how you doing? Is everything solid? Because I know like our personalities is like, hey man, we'll reach out when we reach out. Like it was never really I need to check up on Shane. There's ones I'm like, I need to check up on that person. I need to shoot him a text. How they doing, right? Because it's their personality. And I have, kind of like what you said, like your half dozen to dozen or whatever. Same for me. I'll have the same ones of like, you know what? I haven't reached out to them for a bit. I'm just going to say what's up because, you just respect them in a different way and want to, show them a different, let them know you care, right? There was
Well,
something
if
you,
you're a true friend, I mean, you know what those people need, I think, so that's good.
yeah, for sure. You brought something up a little bit ago about uh, not feeling alone, but how can guys, I would say maybe specifically newer guys, because I feel like the generation has changed so much. I was even talking to, Eddie over here, the one I renting the place from. Um, the generation of new firemen is so different, I'm seeing it all over, at the college and stuff like that as well. Um, how can guys, if they ran a call, maybe it's a few years, maybe it's the first year, maybe it's year 6, 7, or it's year 12. We know the kitchen table can be uplifting or it can be very brutal. We know the kitchen table is where all of life's problems get solved, right? Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All the lawyers,
Yeah.
everybody that's there.
Yeah. So if somebody's going through something on this topic, they're eating dinner, eating lunch, they ran a call, they're afraid to maybe open up, you have all your buddies around and you just feel like, you're disconnected, right? Um, that's how I felt for a little bit. I'd be eating lunch, dinner, and I'm like, I want to bring something up. How come this call isn't bothering them? Or, I felt weaker for talking about, mental health or uh, issues that were going on at home to maybe get some advice, right? And so, how can we what are some different tools you think, Shane, to the newer guy or even the older guy of not feeling alone at work? Because I know a lot do. What are some steps you think that, I mean, I think I just answered my own question, but I think, this is a big thing for the podcast, right? Is throw this podcast on, right? Go into your room, go for a walk around the station, go do something because um, that's what we're here for. That's what this podcast is here for. Is if there's no one you can open up to, maybe throw this on. We're here for you. But if that's not the answer, um, what have you seen with some of the crews that you've been leading? Different personality traits, maybe different emotional states from different guys. What's a recommendation you have, dude? What do you think?
I had a conversation with a old timer. I don't know, probably about a year ago, and I said like, hey man, just out of curiosity, I was like, what did you see at the tail end of your career that was like the biggest changes in the fire service? I was like, obviously everything's changing always, and I have that growth mindset of change where I embrace change. I like it. Most people don't. Firemen are typically horrible at change. We all want change, but then nobody wants change. It's the old joke of, firemen hate the way things are, but don't want to change. So, that whole thing in my mind, I talk to guys randomly just to get their opinions. And anyways, this guy says, dishwashers and cell phones. And I looked at him and I was like, dishwashers and cell phones. Okay, I'll bite. What? Why? And he's like, when I started in the fire service, he goes, we hand washed every dish and you dried every dish and then every dish got put away. So for 20, 30 minutes after dinner, there was a bunch of horseplay in the kitchen as everyone ran their mouth, washed dishes, threw water, cleaned up, put stuff away, and everything was all tidied. He said, he goes, Station 3, there's 10 of us, dinner's over. The dishes are done in 5 minutes. They're washed, rinsed, thrown in this dishwasher. Obviously, the big pots and pans get cleaned up, and oftentimes crews will play a game or two for obviously the dirty dish thing, like whatever. Those games I think are pretty universal in the fire service. But he said, that dishwasher time. He goes, people didn't really realize it, but it was valuable because it was camaraderie. It was building that team, and I said, okay. And then he said the cell phones just made it 1,000 times worse because he goes, now you look across the kitchen or the dinner table, lunch table, and if you're not stuffing food in your face, guys are on their phone. And kind of you just said it, like, go to your room. I think that the separated rooms is also another interesting change, that it's great to have your own room and privacy. Like, I'm just like anybody else. I like to have a little bit of privacy. I don't, I hate sleeping in the dorms with all the grizzly bears that are snoring and farting all night long. But at the same time, that separation is very easy to get lulled into, where you look up and you've spent 4 hours in your room staring at your phone, your iPad, maybe just sleeping, which, you need that sometimes, but isolating. And by
True.
isolating it, you could overthink that, like, oh, is this guy isolating, or is he just sucked into that little vortex of, yeah, I'm just hanging out in my little hole. I'm just here in my room. This is my room. It's my little spot. So to answer your question, the things that I do with my crews, they don't even realize it, but a lot of training. So that training forces you to be engaged together, and it forces you to learn together. And I keep a very, or at least I try to, I keep a very humble attitude that I'm learning too. I don't come out like, hey, I'm the captain and here's what we're doing and I'm going to teach you guys a bunch of stuff. I'll be like, hey, man, I haven't been on this truck in a while. This truck has a pump. It has a basket. Let's take this thing out. Why don't you guys show me how this thing works? I just want to make sure I'm on point with, we get something going today. I want to know how to use this thing to the best of our ability, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes I do that when I even know the answer already. I just want them to be engaged. And other times it's maybe we got a crack crew and it's like, let's go do something funky. Let's just see if we can make this machine do this differently. Can we pump this much GPM out of this particular discharge? I don't know, something weird, but just breaking up the monotony of the standard, just like show up at 7, check out gear, 8 o'clock lineup, tell a bunch of lies at coffee, everybody works out, let's
Lies
go to the
what?
store. Yeah, never, right? Go to the store, come back, cook, eat, go sleep. I mean, there's a rhythm and a routine that's important, but I think shaking that up as a leader is important because it makes the shift memorable. The guys are like, sometimes it's funny. You'll hear a lot of grumbling about like, whoa, why are we doing this? Let's say it's a pub ed event and you go out and they interact and they get valuable quality time out of it. And whatever that looks like, whether it's go to the zoo and just be a prop where the fire truck's there and the kids get to see it. And well, by the end of it, most guys are like, it was cool. Yeah, right on. It was all right. Everybody coming by saying hi. And then you go right back to the old, talking trash and where are we going to eat? And yeah, that's great. I think that's important. But that little kind of interruption to the standard day of just hiding in your room, dicking around on Instagram or whatever these guys do. That's one tactic I use a lot. I have before made everybody leave their cell phones outside, like we're in their lockers. I'm like, hey, dinner tonight, no cell phones. Everybody leave them in your lockers. And unless you got something going on at home, and there's an emergency, we still got wall phones. Does everybody have, not wall phones like private, but like office lines? It's like everybody's family has the office line. I mean, that's the funny part nowadays too. You act like if you don't have your cell phone in your pocket, it's the end of the world. And it's like somehow families 30 years ago before us managed when there was leaks at home and the kid was sick and there was things to do that they couldn't get a hold of dad for an hour or two. The world didn't stop spinning, you know? So I've always thought about that though, the dishwashers and the cell phones, like, because you know, you would think that how many changes could you choose in the fire service? I mean, you could go all over the map with what that is. You know, some guys will say SCBAs. That was a huge change. Wearing turnouts, wearing drops. You know, 2 out. You know, electric fire engines now. I mean, you could pick all these
Yeah.
things. And this guy's like cell phones and dishwashers, and I think he's spot on because it goes to what kind of the heart, in my opinion, of what you're talking about is why the fire service is changing so much is because leaders are not doing a good enough job at the small unit level of truly building a crew cohesion and a bond within the crew. They allow too much separation, to allow too much of the divisiveness, because I'm very vocal about, like, I don't give a shit if you're right, left, gay, straight, you know, what color your skin is, female, male, if you're religious or not. Like, when we're at work, you are a firefighter on our engine or truck, and that is your team. That's the shield you're wearing that day. So for me, it's very important to unilaterally respect everyone and not tolerate anything other than that. But I'm also real careful to watch for that kind of shit. I don't let that get siloed, or I try not to. I shouldn't say I, you know, I'm sure I've made mistakes, but that's the kind of stuff that I would suggest to people out there. And if you're in a crew where you're not necessarily the leader, you can do something I call lead up, where you can influence the crew through your own actions and your own behaviors and your own suggestions and throw those things out. So if you're on a crew and you know you don't know what I'm talking about when I say playing for the dishes or whatever, at the end of the meal, are you playing a card game, a silly little card game? You know, loser's got to do the worst dish, or you know, the second loser takes the trash out, third loser does the mop. I don't know. You know, it depends on your staffing, obviously. Are you rolling some dice for that? And I think this is a common thing, but like in our department, we call it family time. And so guys will yell at each other like, family time, hey, it's family time. Like, get off your phone. Ha ha ha. Everybody's joking. But if you kind of see the crews that are tighter and the crews that actually care, where there's, I think, less of what you're saying, which is the inclination to feel alone. When those crews are having their family time, there's a lot less phones out. So
Yeah.
just being conscientious of that stuff, I think, is probably the biggest thing if you really want to change your internal culture and start building those bonds, that those bonds then prevent people from feeling alone.
Yeah. Dude, like you just hit a lot of stuff that like on point for sure. Um yeah, so the phone, dishes, Long Beach was really traditional. You know, we worked together, right? Dice, we played midnight numerous times. We would do, you know, things for dishes. There would be full on brawls in the kitchen, right? And glasses broke and, you know, food all over the wall because, you know, F you, man, I got the dishes, right? And just having that camaraderie is so big, dude. And, you know, I think that's got lost for sure, you know, in some of the things. And, you know, it's no, I don't want to say a dig, man, but I think it's become such a young culture that, how do I say it? Some may not know how to lead, know how to do that, right? And so things just go rampant. So people are feeling more alone because they're lacking that leadership, right? You're having more suicides in the fire service. You're having more depression, more anxiety because, you know, it's something that you said a couple years ago to me, dude, and it always stuck in my head. And you're like, dude, everybody wants to be led. Everybody wants to be led. That can be different. That can be from day to day. If you're going through a hard time in your life, you need to be led. Hey man, you know what? Do this, do that, right? That can ebb and flow, right? If you're a leader needs to be led as well, right? And what you just said is, you know, when you're on a crew and you're working in a different station, a truck house or, you know, an engine house or whatever, hey, let's go take this thing out. You know, the majority of the time you already kind of know like the answer to stuff, but you're putting yourself to, you know, to a level of like, hey, let's all do this together, right? Let's go, yeah, I'm the captain of the crew, right? But like, let's make this a team building thing. Let's make it camaraderie. and let's all go out there and have some fun and see what we can learn. Because how many times have you gone out? I mean, I've done it with rookies, dude. Right? Up there with Apple Valley, a part of training, and there's sometimes stuff is super fresh to them, and I'm like, oh, they did something I didn't know that. It might be a little tiny thing. I'm like, oh, okay. Never do we know it all. We know a lot, but we don't know it all, right? But the cell phones, not feeling alone, isolating yourself. So when you scroll through the cell phone, what do you think the algorithm is due to grab your attention, Shane? How many seconds do you think?
What do I think? Oh, I think it's less than a second, probably, or
So
maybe 1 to 2. I don't know.
yeah, so it's 3 to 5 seconds
Uh,
that they have to. So as you're scrolling, it can be a headline, it can be an Instagram post, it can be TikTok, whatever, the YouTube, whatever. The purpose of advertisement or the purpose of anything, whether it's a photo, like you said, whatever you're doing in your room, and you're, isolating yourself. I'm not saying a cell phone's bad. What I'm trying to say is if you're feeling alone, these things can make you feel more alone if you're not doing the camaraderie, and specifically at work. So 3 to 5 seconds. So what does that do now? So now your dopamine's all jacked up. So now you're going through something difficult in life. You're coming to work. You're trying to escape it. You're running the calls. You can't relax. Now you're not having the camaraderie. You're not having the games, the dishes, and then now your cell phone's at the table, and now you're scrolling 3 to 5 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds. Now what's happening is you're looking at these photos or these things, and you're not engaged. You're not communicating. You're not having human interaction with the guys at your table, and now you're training your brain to get immediate gratification. 3 to 5 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds. Oh, I'm gonna like that post. Oh, I know numerous guys do it. You're looking at all those chicks in bikinis. Oh, I like that, right? Or whether it's not that, maybe it's a vacation, or maybe whatever the heck it might be. You're just constantly stimulating your mind on having something happen right now. So now you go through a difficult thing in life. You have a real life challenge. Now you've like pre-planned, pre-programmed your mind to a 3 to 5 second interaction, I should say. So now when you go through something difficult and you have to focus and reinvent yourself, you have to not feel alone. And a way that people don't feel alone is they go on their cell phone. Okay, well, I'm just going to scroll. But that makes you feeling alone even worse because you're not interacting, right? And so for you to focus, to get through your trial or your tribulation or your challenge or your journey in life, whatever term we want to use, you're going to feel even more alone when you start changing yourself, when you start reinventing yourself, when you're like, hey, you know what? And I'm not even saying you as a leader. I'm saying take this onto yourself. If you're going through something difficult, you're at the station, or even when you're at home, start setting up different routines for yourself, right? So say you're at the station, and you as a captain, Shane, you said it. Hey, for dinner tonight, let's put our cell phones over here. I've worked with different crews. We've all done that, and typically those dinners are pretty good because it never yet have I can't speak for anyone else out there, but never yet have I done that and the dinner was bad. Typically conversation starts, it might be quiet in the beginning a little bit because it's like kind of awkward, right? Because it's like, oh, our phone's not here, because when there's that awkward silence, they pick up the phone. But once the conversation gets going, now you're talking, you're having human interaction. If the crews don't do that, what you're going to have to do for yourself, just through life, is take that personal accountability and that extreme ownership that we talk about. And I know this stuff seems simple, guys, but it's like you're going to be the one to be like, you know what? I'm going to keep my phone in my dorm room today for dinner. I'm not going to do that, even though someone else isn't saying to do it. I'm going to force myself to interact more because I'm feeling kind of disconnected, right? So that's going to feel very awkward. I go to the gym, dude. I look around. People do their set and they look on their phone. They do their set, they look on the phone. And then what happens is they end up scrolling on their phone for a few minutes. People are watching YouTube. People are scrolling through TikTok. You're at the gym to work out. I'm not saying don't take your minute to 2 minute rest or 30-second rest, whatever it is for your routine, but you get distracted. That's what I'm talking about. You're at the station, you get distracted, and now your dopamine gets so jacked up. So when a real challenge comes, you don't even know how to focus. You're going to start, and when you start scrolling through things, you might start training your brain to stuff you're trying to get over, but now that's constantly what's in front of you. So you're training your brain to see stuff you're trying to run away from, but it's in front of you. So that's what your brain's going to see. So when you start doing those things, these simple little steps truly matter. Because when I was going through some of my deep stuff, I would scroll through Instagram, or I would, YouTube, and try to find something that would uplift me, or a positive saying or something like that. But what I really needed was to put that thing down and just to communicate exactly what you're saying and just be there, just be present. Even if nothing's being said, just like I do it now. People think it's kind of weird. I don't know if you notice it, Shane, but people think I'm hiding something. I put my phone upside down on the table anytime I'm eating dinner, or lunch, or if I'm with people, I put my phone upside down. But you hear other people, right? Oh, how come your phone's upside down? It's like, well, because I don't want to, I don't want to see. This is dinner time right now. People think it's weird, dude. Like you said, somehow we got through years and hundreds of years with no cell phone. Now it's like you have, detachment issues if your cell phone isn't in your pocket every second, right? This creates depression and anxiety and so many things, man. I'm not trying to get off on a tangent. I think what I'm trying to say is if you're feeling alone, the cell phone's not going to help. It can make you feel more alone, right? Just like your buddy was saying. So when you start making these small steps, your old personality is going to want to come out, and you have to fight that. Not just a cell phone. I know that's the example we used, but it can be maybe something pisses you off, something somebody says, your routine in the morning, how you interact with people. Like when you start changing certain things about you to get to a newer, a new level, or you're trying to, strip off the old identity to a new identity, because maybe it's a job loss, or it's, something traumatic, or it's retirement. You're having to create a new version of yourself, and that's going to happen to us in life numerous times. We're going to go through different versions of ourselves, and like you said, most people say they want change, but then actually when we have to change, they go back to who they were prior, right? So that change is very, very uncomfortable. And it doesn't have to be some traumatic event like suicide or death, or, a bad call, years of bad calls. It can just be something, smaller, whatever that is for you. So reinventing yourself is massive on not feeling alone, because some of those things that you need to switch up are going to be very difficult for sure. And your brain's going to try to, get you back to that.
I think it's funny you talk about the people that assume you're hiding something. That's about them, because they're hiding something usually. Those are the types of people that in their own mind they're thinking like, oh, if I put my phone upside down, my husband or wife is going to think and it's probably because they're probably fucking doing something wrong.
Exactly.
So I don't worry about those idiots. Another thing I don't have is I don't have any notifications on my phone, so I don't get the bubble thing on the face. And I don't have any social media other than Facebook, and I don't use it very often, but that's very much intentional, because I know how easy it would be to kill time with that stuff. And not to say I don't do that in other ways. I'll play like stupid little games occasionally, and just mindless things to kind of kill time. But I've just noticed at the fire station a lot that it's very easy to burn a bunch of time. Like, whereas like the day room watching TV, I remember early in my career, it was funny. Station 3 downtown, where I've always been, things like what was it, Step Brothers or Napoleon Dynamite, or any of these silly movies that came out 20 years ago, and all of us watching them together. Wedding Crashers,
Favorite,
Road
dude.
Trip. dude, old school. I mean, just all the guys in there howling and quoting all those movie lines, and then it just would become the staple. And there was one station in the tower in our kind of art district here in the city. They called it Tombstone because the old man who was a truck captain there was this legendary guy named Bull Durham. Literally, that was his name. And he would watch Tombstone every shift on the old VCR. And, you know, and so like everybody there could quote every line of that movie. And my point though is that nowadays I see guys, I've noticed the new trend is they all binge together. A lot of guys will binge like these shows on streaming services. So they'll be like, hey, what are we watching tonight? You know, I don't know. I remember seeing guys watch like Game of Thrones and some other stuff. So there's still a little bit of that going on, but it's a little bit different than it used to be, where I feel like um, that was like one silly little way of building camaraderie. Because like some of my closest friends, we still to this day when we see each other quote things like Napoleon Dynamite. You know, we do that stupid voice of like hi, you know, or your mom goes to college or whatever stupid lines that were like epic back then. And I don't see that as much anymore. And so I think also like the schedules that we have are awesome, like working 2 days on, 4 days off, but it's lent more to the super commuters who don't live in the area. So there's not a lot of time off duty that people spend together. You know, a lot of times people are driving in from out of town. By the time they arrive at the station, they're already tired. So they get through the morning, eat, and then they go crash, and then it's just the day flies by, and the next thing you know, everybody's going home, and you're going back. Which none of this is necessarily a bad thing. It's just that if you find yourself in one of those situations and you're like, man, this is not the fire service of old, it's like, well, it's not, and that's okay. I mean, you don't have to be melancholy that it's not that way anymore. You can find ways to kind of change some of that. But I don't buy it with the new kids that it's their fault. I know a lot of guys like to pretend it's like the new generation. I just tested all the rookies last week, and I really look at it as a leadership failure because, you know, these kids are coming in nervous as hell to our houses, our fire stations. And it's like, what are you doing to make them feel welcome? What are you doing to actually let them know yeah, your standards are high and they need to earn a spot, but that as of right now, they're on your team. You know, that's a interesting and it should be a priority for you, whether you're in a leadership position or a senior firefighter position, is to make sure that kid trust you completely, that you have their back, because it shouldn't be the other way around. You should be earning their trust right away so that they know they're in good hands, because everybody knows they're the new person and they know the very least, but they don't know who we are. So if you come in with that attitude, like um, just destroying people when they walk through the door for every little thing that goes down, I mean, building that trust is really difficult then. And so you're not creating an environment that fosters that kind of cohesion of the team that then will allow for people to, in times of adversity, gel together and look out for one another. It'll actually do the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it'll create that
Yeah.
like, oh, Eric's all messed up. Well, fuck him. He's on his own. I got mine. You know, he ain't looking out for me. That dude ain't gonna do shit for me. So why am I gonna do anything for him? I'm just gonna look the other way, kind of thing. And that to me is problematic. Like the phones and everything else, it's like I'm not trying to sound like some old guy. I have a ton of stuff that's technology and I think it's great. I love all of it. I think it all has different applications that are super beneficial to our lives today. And I think that we're living in the best time ever in terms of human existence with the stuff that we have available to us to make our lives better. But as we talk about a lot on this podcast, everything is balance and
Yeah.
learning how to use these things appropriately, to not let them, take the like substitute healthy interaction with other people, and having yourself surrounded by people that have your back. And the more that you do that, the more that ball will roll and that momentum will get picked up. But yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, that I'm not, the stuff we're talking about is, yeah, the cell phone and, like you said, being the older guys, or, uh, oh, technology sucks. No, that's not what I'm saying either. I'm saying, yeah, I agree with you. Everything has balance, right? There's a proper place for it, right? And I've even talked to, you know, some younger dudes, man, and they even complain about their generation. I was talking to a dude at the gym the other day. He's 23. He's killing it. He's
Yeah.
killing it, man. Doing a media business and Instagram, and he's all on it. But he's like, hey, man, I really don't check it for myself. He's like, I do it more as a business. And this guy's 23, and he works for a local gym, and he makes awesome content. And he gets annoyed with his generation. He's like, man, dude, like no one really has like relationships anymore. Everyone's on their phone. There's no interaction. I feel like we're so disconnected. So all these things can make you feel alone, right? Even though when we get older, technology is all around. So we have to recognize where we need to make those changes to get ourselves back. That's all I'm trying to say. I think that's what you're trying to say too. I love technology. I agree with you, dude. It's the cell phone, this podcast. You're in Fresno. I'm in Temecula, right? Without technology, we couldn't do this, right?
Absolutely.
After this, I go on there. I use some other stuff on the internet and make podcast episode stuff and post it. And now it's out for everybody to listen to it within you know today or whenever I post it. Right? Technology is amazing. If used in the right way, but it can also be like anything else, dude. It can be used in a very bad way, right? Um, so there was something you said, man. I totally forgot the point. Gosh darn it. Sorry, guys. Um, but Yeah, there's a little exercise I want to do. So, goes to feeling alone, goes to feeling plentiful. We talk about grace, gratitude. When you're going through something difficult, uh, you know, you tend to focus on what's not going right. When I play in a band, I just played a party a week ago. I haven't played an engagement party for a backyard engagement party for gosh, dude, a couple years. And I got asked to play it last weekend, and I forgot how fun it was. First of all, to see people in their happiest moment, right? We're playing the music, a backyard party. It's an engagement. I meet both sides, the bride and groom, their family. Oh, well, they're so happy, and this, and that, and the other thing, and everyone's laughing and joking, and it's the time of their life. They're excited for their daughter and their son, and the band's there. Everyone's dancing. They're singing back and forth. Just a great time. I was like, man, I forgot how fun it was to play these kinds of parties. You make some extra money, and everyone's happy, right? I had a conversation with somebody else in the band. Um, he's like, dude, wasn't that fun? We're seeing people in their best moment. I'm like, that's a good point, dude. I never really thought about it before, but it made me think of this podcast because, like anything else, just like the station life, right? Guys drive. I was later in my career, I was a commuter. In the beginning, I wasn't. Then I lived, 2.5, 3 hours away, depending on traffic. So I was that guy. You get there, you're tired, traffic, accidents, whatever, and you're just like, gosh, I'm beat already. So you do your workout with the crew, you go grab coffee, or grab a cup, whatever, however you guys want to say it. Go shopping, run some calls, eat lunch, and then you take a nap. Right? The day just goes by, and you just kind of like you know get through the day. So same thing happened with the band. You get used to playing the gigs and the parties and seeing people laugh and joke, and it kind of becomes mundane as well, becomes a job, right? I haven't played this kind of gig for a while, and it like rebalanced my thinking of like, wow, that's pretty cool, right? I get to see people in their happiest moment because on the job we typically see people in their worst moment, right? So I'm able to see uh, the difference of people still have a life when they're here at this party in particular. Um, whatever happened prior to the party or whatever is going to happen the day after, we don't know. But for this moment, they're happy, right? And it made me think of like, because that's what they're focusing on. Right? Hopefully, right? They can be they're pissed off and negative, right? But that's not what I saw, right? And I think as we go through life, we really have to figure out how do we want to feel, Who do we want to be? That's a question, right? Like you said, look at yourself in the mirror. I'm a big proponent of that. If you are going through something difficult, or you're having the identity shift, right? There's a conversation. We're going to actually have a retired BC from Long Beach on the podcast, and I think we're going to talk about it. But someone just retired from a different department, not Long Beach, and in shape dude, retired for just a couple years, didn't have a purpose again. Married, what I heard is a good family, and he just couldn't figure out his purpose. He's like, I'm not going into work anymore. I'm not, uh, I'm not doing what I thought I was going to do. He didn't know how to accept retirement, so he ended up committing suicide. And this just happened a month ago, something like that. And you have to look at yourself in the mirror, and maybe your purpose, or if you're feeling alone in your retirement or something in your life, ask, who do you want to be? Who do I want to be today? Maybe it's not the week or the month or the year. Look yourself in the mirror, take that accountability, and be like, you know what, today I want to be one step closer to getting through the day happier. Maybe it's that simple. You don't need to check a ton of things off, because the more things you try to add to your day to not feel alone or to feel more productive, you're going to get more stressed. And that is hard for us as firemen, right? I think just hopefully a productive man that wants to, make a difference in life, we want to accomplish a ton of things throughout the day, and that can stress you out, right? You got this to do, that to do. I'm not saying don't be busy. I'm saying if you're going through something difficult, you might have to analyze where you're at, readjust to get your purpose back, right? And that can take time. And sometimes that time is slowing down. And that's very difficult, to slow your brain down, to be like, today is, I'm not going to feel alone today, because I have whatever it is, wife, kids, family, friends. I can walk, I could taste, I could see, I could, whatever it might be. Breaking those simple things down when you're feeling like that, in time, I'm not saying it's going to help you get rid of all the emotion, but each little step you take forward at the end of the day, with time and patience with yourself, things will get better, right? And if you're feeling alone, if you're feeling these feelings, it's going to be okay. That, if you keep doing those small steps, I look back at myself, I didn't think I would feel the way I feel today. I thought, I was like, man, I saw no light at the end of the tunnel. I was negative. I was depressed. I was anxious. I didn't want to be here. I want to take my own life. What's the purpose of living, right? And you have to literally just pick something for the day, and so cliche, one foot in front of the other. That is legit it. If it's just you getting out of bed at a certain time you give for yourself, if you typically get up at 7 o'clock, get up at 5 o'clock. Do something different to give yourself the confidence that you're creating a new version of yourself. And only you truly know what that is. And if you don't like what you see in the mirror, if you don't like who you are, then hey, there's your purpose, right? Start fixing yourself, right? And start chipping away at whatever it is you need to try to fix to make yourself better for yourself, for your friends, for your family, for your coworkers, and just in life and for others. And that might be your purpose. And that's a pretty badass purpose to have if you can inspire the ones closest to you, right? So whoever's listening to this, if you're in a car, you're in your room, you're at the station, whatever, just look around the room real quick. Pick one color. Maybe it's white. Maybe it's blue. Maybe it's red. I don't know. Pick a color in that room, and just notice all around the room how much of that color you see. Look around. Now you stop. Close your eyes. What colors do you see? Whatever color you picked is the color that you're going to see in your mind. That's like the change that you want. We talk about journaling and a vision for yourself and all these things. Envision who you want to be. And the more you focus on that, you will take those daily steps to, become that person. So, Yeah, that's what I got, man. I know it's uh, easier said than done for sure, for sure to do that because the majority of the time we act off of emotion versus logic and reasoning a lot. So we have to control our emotional state, and the way we do that is focusing on the right things. Um, so yeah, that's what I
That's
got,
it,
man.
though. I mean, it comes down to directing your focus
Yeah,
to where it needs to be, and so uh, simply by suggesting to someone to look at the color red, or even if you're asking them to figure out a color on their own, that purpose drives your focus and your attention to whatever it is you're trying to achieve. So all of us are usually pretty high functioning alphas that are very, you know, successful in the things that we do, and typically very capable people. And what I find interesting about that is that when it comes to these things, we aren't great at it because we don't understand how to shift our focus into shifting our attitude, our mentality, being able to change gears midday when you're having a bad day or a bad week. As I said, man, this week was rough. We had to get through a bunch of testing, losing our buddy, just a lot of stuff going on, but we all soldiered on, and still I paid real close attention. Like, I still got to go home, eat a good meal, stay hydrated, sleep, not let that mental little creep get in there, and start making me feel overwhelmed or tired or ragged out or angry or irritable or any of those things. So, but it's a conscious effort. It's something that you have to focus your attention on. So I think that's kind of your point on anybody that's listening is, uh, you know, take a small step, feel what doesn't feel right, that's out of place in your life, or that you should probably make some tweaks to, and just start doing it small. Have your focus on that, constantly be checking it to make sure, because wherever you drive your focus to is what you're going to essentially work on or not. If you choose to ignore things, it's going to get ignored. It's all going to pile up in the corner. So, and if it seems too big or scary to move, that's when you should start thinking about what modality you need to help you with that. So should you go see talk therapy? Maybe it's just as simple as buy a sauna or get a gym membership or do the ice baths. I mean, you can take a cold shower for free essentially. So there's all
yeah,
these things you can do to take a single step to figure out what is it that helps kind of shock your system and makes you start down a path of trying to make some change. So
yeah, yeah. No, I think it's great, man, and the topic of not feeling alone and reinventing yourself, and what you guys also have to realize is when you start changing yourself and you start leveling up, you start taking accountability for certain things, or you go through traumatic things in your life, and you're changing your personality. People may not understand you for a little bit. They're not gonna know your feelings. They're not going to uh, maybe they're not going to connect with you like they used to because you've gone through different things that they haven't, and you're trying to find like a connection. You're trying to find validation. You're trying to find something to where you can feel. But understand that that's all normal. That is okay to maybe not feel validated for a little bit. It's okay to feel alone. That's good, right? Feeling alone's okay. And I think a lot of people are afraid to actually feel that emotion of feeling alone. Like, you know what? I need to take care of this. This is on me right now. It's not my family. It's not my crew. It's not, whatever your mind's trying to come up with, right? Kind of like what you talked about, Shane, of they should be doing this, or that person should be doing this, or if they, whatever, right? It's your mind trying to take control and tell you what you think should be done. But in reality, it's up to you to only control you, right? And so as you go through these different things in life, that's going to be up to you. And if you're going through something like that, like I said, understand that if no one understands, that's okay. I actually heard this from a Jocko podcast, and it really resonated with me. And it's just, I was driving down in the desert one day, cruising just for a drive to clear my head, and I was having a really, really hard day of just emotions and feelings and feeling super alone. And he goes, if you're hearing this right now and you feel like no one understands you, I want you to know it's okay, because they don't need to understand you. Because here's the thing, you understand. You know that no one understands you. That's understanding right there. That's okay, right? And as he said that, I'm just like, wow. He goes, because you understand. You know it's going to be okay. And I'm like, yeah, that's totally true. Like, it's not anybody else's responsibility to understand 100% of your emotions, because they're not you, and it's you. And yeah, man, I think it was a great podcast, dude, for sure. Is there anything else that you wanted to add, or how you feeling?
No, I'm good, man. That was
You
good.
good?
It's good
Cool.
to get one in with you, and hopefully we can get Paul on soon, and some more people. So
Yeah, for sure.
looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, definitely, man. Thank you, everybody, for taking a listen. And I just want to say once again that we're here for you. And if you're battling something, just know that you can always pop these podcasts on. You can reach out to us. We're both pretty good about, not pretty good. We do well at getting back to emails. And we've gotten emails in the past of people just not knowing the process, feeling alone, and we get right back to them, and they feel a lot better. So, we're here for you, even though we can't take away all your challenges and all your problems. We all need them. You need them. You're going to grow from them for sure. You're going to find out more about yourself. And the more you push through each step you take, you will definitely come out the other side if you keep pushing, even if you don't feel like you will. You will, for sure. So yeah, you can reach me at epadgettcoaching@gmail.com.
And I'm at ricfirecaptain@gmail.com.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you guys once again. And yeah, we have some more stuff coming from you for you guys in the future. And we'll see you on the next one.